It's a harder question to answer because it kind of depends on who you're talking to. I guess at my base, getting like the stuff out of the way. I'm a voice actor for animation, and video games in Dallas, Texas. I've been voice acting now for I think like oh my God, I think like 13 years maybe. No, wait, 32, 20, 10 years, 10 years. I have not gotten to 13 yet. I think I started when I was 22. So I've been voice acting for about 10 years. I've done almost every kind of thing except for audiobooks, which I've done audio stories for like educational like classes and stuff, but never like a full release book. But other than that, I've been kind of in a little bit of every type of media um in terms of voice acting.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Movement Radio. I am Chip Hazard.
I'm Talon Williams.
And I'm Roger Sierra.
And today we are joined by another special guest, voice actress extraordinaire, Krystal LaPorte. Krystal, how are you today?
um Now I'm embarrassed because you said extraordinaire, but I'm good. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So for those who don't know, who is Krystal LaPorte?
um it's a harder question to answer because it kind of depends on who you're talking to. I guess at my base, getting like the stuff out of the way. I'm a voice actor for animation, and video games in Dallas, Texas. I've been voice acting now for I think like oh my God, I think like 13 years maybe. No, wait, 32, 20, 10 years, 10 years. I have not gotten to 13 yet. I think I started when I was 22. So I've been voice acting for about 10 years. I've done almost every kind of thing except for audiobooks, which I've done audio stories for like educational like classes and stuff, but never like a full release book. But other than that, I've been kind of in a little bit of every type of media um in terms of voice acting. Uh who I also am an attorney. I started voice acting sort of to pay for law school, and I recently opened my own criminal defense practice in Dallas here. It's for low cost criminal defense because a lot of times in Texas, you have to make, and oh, my cat just joined us. This is Atticus. Um,
Oh,
a lot of times in Texas, you have to make like $16,000 to get a court-appointed attorney, and that's a year. And a lot of people don't make $16,000 a year. They make more than that, but they still can't afford an attorney because there's this stuff called oh God, what's the word? Food and rent and medical bills. So a lot of people who make just over the cuff are between a rock and a hard place. So I do a lot of low-cost criminal defense for people that aren't eligible to be appointed an attorney, but still can't afford $25,000 for someone to work out a settlement, really.
I
So, that's
definitely
what
understand that.
yeah, it's, I love it. It's one of the thing, I guess at the end of the day, I love giving a voice to something that doesn't have one yet. And in a lot of cases, our criminal defendants really have theirs taken the moment that an indictment comes. And so it's kind of I do a lot of collaborative law, which is trying to bring in the resources necessary to kind of come up with a sentence that is more appropriate. Like and a good example is like if somebody was stealing, but they were stealing stuff like children's formula and blankets and everything, I might suggest to the prosecutor, hey, we could send this person to jail and make these children absolutely SOL, or we can sentence them to volunteer for 10 hours at a women's center. Not only do they give restitution, but now they're made aware of this resource they can go to in the future if they need these things. So you're reducing recidivism and also not ruining someone's life. So I spend a lot of time doing that. I'm lucky that my office is close to the studio, so I can go like during lunches if I need to record, or they usually have like hour-long breaks in court, so I can zip in and out and if I have a quick session. Um, and other than that, when I get home, I love anything horror. I'll watch horror movies all day long if I could. I Me and my partner Chris, we combined our horror movie collections, which is the truest level of commitment there is, and we have over 5,000 DVDs. It takes up a
Wow.
whole of just horror.
Wow.
It takes up a whole bookshelf. And our date nights, we're going to Walmart on Tuesdays because that's when they put out new $5 DVDs and just going nuts. I love cats, from cat on the shirt, the cat's on the shirt, and the cat in the lap. We have another one. Don't know where he is. He's not really like my cat. I just found him in the trash 17 years ago and he hasn't left yet. So yeah. There's that.
It sounds like
Uh
my cat.
I love doing crafts. I like learning. I try to pick up something every few years that I'm absolutely rubbish at and don't stop until I'm just slightly less rubbish. Right now it is learning French. So been doing
Oh,
that for about a year now. I take my
Okay,
A1
cool.
Delft in December. Um, that's pretty much it. Cats, crafts. Oh, I like cooking and work.
Okay,
it's a
that's a whole lot
very
there. But
interesting
yes,
combination of stuff. I like it.
Yeah, that's
yes.
really cool.
So Chip asked the question, "Who are you?" I'm going to ask the question, "Who were you before the voice acting, even before law school or anything like that? Like, what was your initial spark? Did you always want to do voice acting, or did you always want to be an attorney? Like, what was your first love there?"
I was dragged kicking and screaming through law school my entire life. I did not want to be an attorney until I found criminal defense. And it's not so much the work that means so much to me, it's the purpose and the ability to help people. It really is in a lot of ways the last bastion of justice. The reason that Dick the Butcher said, have you ever heard the phrase, let's kill all the attorneys?
Hmm.
Everyone always says that unironically, like, well, you know what they say about attorneys, let's kill them all. But that is what is said in the play. That's the villain. And he says that the first thing we need to do in order for me to take over and stage this coup and ruin everything is to kill all the attorneys, because they're the first ones that run and try to help the people that I'm going to try to ostracize and other. And it means a lot to me. The work means a lot to me. Going to court, I still get scared. I still have a mini heart attack every time a pop song uses police sirens as a sound effect, which should be illegal. But I was before all of that, I I always knew liked acting. I didn't know what voice acting was at all until I was about 21. And Chris said, you might want to try Walla in this because you have this theater background. I originally went to school for opera, and that's what I was going to do. I love to sing. And then eventually, my dad and I had a discussion, and it was like, you could go to school for law or something more stable, or you could, like, I don't know, not go to school. So my options were slightly limited. So did the whole pre-law track. I did community theater while I could, but for a while I just assumed that I was never going to do any type of theater again, because a legal career, it's a big time commitment, and I didn't think I would ever be able to do rehearsals and dress rehearsal tech week, performance weeks. If I didn't have the schedule for it, I just didn't think I'd do it. And then with voice acting, I realized, oh my God, you schedule off one block of time and then the production is over. I might say hello and goodbye to a character on the same day, and it might take 4 hours of recording, but Funimation was open from 6 till 10, and I get out of work at 5, and then I'm done. So it was a really good way to sort of get my acting kicks, continue to do it professionally, but still be able to balance a law career. I miss stage work more than anything, and maybe once I get a little more settled in my law career, I can go back to doing night rehearsals and taking a day off for rehearsal weeks. But because I started my own practice and I'm still fairly new, it's a grind.
Yeah,
So I
I
other
understand that
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But other than that, I always loved acting. Uh, I didn't love law as much as I do now after finding the right one. And for the most part, I was just a nerd. There were some animes that I watched. I loved anime. I liked sewing, but I didn't start cosplaying until I was about 16. I liked crafting just the same. Always loved horror, and I like to read a lot. I didn't read a lot of manga, but I liked to read any book I could find, and I just kind of hung out and kept to myself and did that.
What were
Cool.
some of the anime that you enjoyed watching when you were growing up?
Um, when I was growing up, and technically still now, but it is in storage because I have a small apartment, but my Dragon Ball Z collection was obscene. It is obscene. I watched it every day after class, and the nice thing about college was I learned how to use things like eBay and just and got to add more to it. My prize of my collection were these they sold them for a short while. They were bootleg Dragon Ball plushies where they took the plush skin and sewed them over the base of walking musical baby dolls. And
Okay.
they are yeah, no, they're horrifying. Like the drinks of so I watched Dragon Ball Z a lot. Before that, Pokemon, but like 6 and 7, you had to get the cards even though you didn't know how to play the game at all. You just kept them in a binder and showed your friends at school. And the Nintendo Color games, I loved that. And then trying to think after Dragon Ball Z, I started looking at different ones. I If I had to choose my favorite of all time, probably Genkutsuo, which is the Count of Monte Cristo with
Hmm.
sort of that mosaic style art form. Kaiba it's the one where people can like pay to have their memories erased. I think Discotheque just re-released it. It's got one of the most beautiful end themes I've ever heard. Loved Mononoke. Um Trying to think Mononoke. There were I'm surprisingly not a giant mech fan, but I really liked Turn A Gundam, which was more of a steampunk hype Gundam that set in the future that was it's but the technology reverts to the past. Um I'm trying to think of more. But yeah, those were kind of the mains.
There's some good choices there. There's some
Yeah.
really good choices there.
Do you still watch anime today?
I have not watched a full anime in so long, except for one, because one of my close friends played the main character, and two, the art just really compelled me, and that was Ranking of Kings, which is one
Job.
of the
Yeah.
best things I have ever seen. It was phenomenal. Um, Trying to think of other ones. I do want to check out the new Junji Ito show on Netflix.
It's
Uh,
I
good.
love Junji Ito so much. I've got his anthology, and he just and also seeing him just interact with the world and his cats makes me so happy.
Yeah. It's the one on Netflix. I think they've already announced season two's coming or something like that. It's very very. If you love horror and Junji Ito stuff, yeah,
Mhm.
it's really 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 freaky. It's a lot of it's more disturbing than scary, but yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Good.
doesn't
Yeah.
he have
Have
another
you
one coming
seen
up? Oh,
what?
I think he has another one coming up in October.
Yeah, yeah, season two of that one. Yeah, I think they said October. Yeah,
I can't
And
remember what store
then
it was, but I saw the pictures and this was my favorite thing that's probably happened this year was a merchandise mashup. You know how like sometimes brands will do collaborations?
Mhm.
It was Junji Ito collaborating with Sanrio,
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
and
Yep.
it is hilarious. It's got like Tomie hanging out with Hello Kitty, and it's adorable. But if you know, you know.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
Wow.
I'm sure that you have or will have some of that, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
I'm
it's
trying to do
horror and cats.
Yeah, I'm trying to be financially smart, but maybe
I,
if I
I'm
see
Maybe.
it, my thing is that I have a different level of restraint that I impose on myself. If I see something where I'm like, there will be no timeline in my life or possibly in this universe where I'm going to need that, but I want it. I will say no internet shopping for it. I have to find it at a convention. And if I find it, I will buy it without second guessing. So that's my rule.
okay.
Awesome.
I like that
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah.
Also, on the 29th of this month, they're releasing Junji Ito's Spiral or Uzumaki on Adult Swim.
Wait, the
Oh,
live action or
No, the anime,
or a show?
anime.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
yeah.
I thought that was still in the works. I didn't even know. Oh,
Yeah, it comes out the 29th. I knew they were releasing something, but I thought they were set for October 5th,
uh-huh.
but I think they moved it forward because that's when Bleach comes back and
Yeah.
Blue Lock comes back, so they're not trying to
Oh
compete.
yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh, you just made her day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited. The
Yes.
Absolutely.
live action was fun,
Yeah, but I
but
want to see it
Yeah.
actually animated because I don't know if they're
yeah,
going to
I
just
want to see
go,
the end. I want to see the manga ending actually play out.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're
Yeah.
doing it. I don't know if they're doing it in color or they're actually sticking to black and white.
That would be so cool,
Mhm.
actually.
Black and
Yeah.
white kind of gives it a little bit more of a darker undertone, I think.
Yeah, it gives it an uneasy feeling.
Exactly. And Junji Ito is all about uneasily disturbing, twisted warp stuff. Yeah.
No, what are you talking about?
I love it. It's great.
It's all about bright colors and unicorns, right?
Yeah.
Just the
No, that's
Sanrio
no, no,
collaboration.
that's Hazbin Hotel. That's what that is.
Um, so Chris, what was that first like voice acting session like for you? How nervous were you going in there to record?
Um, I refused, and the first take was just crying. And thankfully, they were able to put that in like, I think it was like a village attacking scene. It was in a show called Shining Hearts. And there were scenes where other people were crying. So they were able to put me deep down in the mix just for like, they're like, look, we can even put this here. You didn't mess up. See, it fits in the anime. So why don't you try another emotion now? And so then I did. It's one of there were the best way to describe it, I guess, is there are a lot of things in my life that I love now that I really had to be dragged kicking and screaming into because when I was young, everything that I was supposed to do and I would be doing was very like laid out and decided for me. And so branching out into anything new was horrifying, like cripplingly so. My partner Chris, he was one of the first people that was being like, look, if you want to yell at me after you do this and say, okay, I told you so or stuff, then do it and I won't hold it against you, but you should try this. And it got me to try a lot of new things that I now consider a very, very vital part of my life.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah,
Auditioning was
absolutely.
another one. I was kind of like, well, I'll do whatever someone hires me for, but I'm not going to audition for if I don't work ever again, I guess that just happens. And he's like, that's stupid. And I'm like, okay, a little bit stupid. And I mean, now there are some shows that I don't think the director would have known my name from Adam if I didn't audition, and I just get an audition and I do it. And remembering the fear I felt seeing an audition side for the first time, I'm just grateful that I do it now.
No, your partner, is he also a voice actor?
Yes, he recently passed away.
Oh, I'm so
Oh, I'm
sorry.
so sorry.
Sorry to hear
That's
that.
okay. He's my and that's my fault. I still talk about us in the present tense, and it's just it's a habit you gotta break. We were together for 10 years. He but he was a voice actor. He was phenomenal. I, I see. I don't remember. I think it's Chip. I see the Dragon Ball Z merch. Did you watch Kai?
I did.
He was Frieza.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah. So
wow.
Oh, wow.
yeah. So, and I'm gonna brag on my boy for a little bit. The last movie he did, the Broly movie, he had
Mhm.
11% lung function during the recording, and he would keep his oxygen mask on, take it off to record, put it back on, take it off to record, put it back on, and that's how he recorded that movie. And he was the absolute champion of doing things not because they're easy, not because they're comfortable, but because they're right or because they are the next step to doing what you really want to do, but also was one of the biggest champions in doing every single thing ethically that I've ever met. And so it's I owe him so much of who I am because even today, even as an attorney, there are a lot of shortcuts people take or a lot of corners people will cut to make an extra buck. And the idea of him knowing I'm doing that probably will keep me from ever doing something like that the rest of my life. He was a good guy.
Well, that's
We're so sorry for your loss. We
so
really
sorry
are.
for your loss, but I'm glad that you can have those memories and keep them with you, and it helps push you forward as a person.
Yeah. And it's nice
So-
because we're not over yet when he got sick in 2017, and when he knew that he started writing a letter a day for me, and he filled up a book this thick.
Oh
So
my
I've
God.
got about, if I keep it to once a week, I've got about 11 years more of like stuff and just little reminders. And sometimes they're really nice and very supportive. Other times it's stuff like, if you read this, it means I have lived and died without ever trying the McRib. That was one of them.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that's
Wow.
I was so angry. I read that one the day before I had to leave town to do my first federal criminal trial since his death. And I really needed something supportive and like encouraging. And I open it up and I'm like, you ass. And I close it and I go to Fort Worth.
oh,
Wow.
that's
Crazy.
that's awesome. But it was something you needed at that moment.
I did. And you know what? There are no other letters I've read so far that I can remember verbatim, but I sure do remember that that man never had a McRib. So,
Well,
who won that one?
I can tell you he's not missing. He never
Yeah,
missed
he's not.
anything by not
No.
having the McRib.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
Who cares?
real rib meat.
No,
It's like
Oh,
no, it's
definitely
made out
not.
of shoes. No, it's made out of the foam that they used to make shoes with. So I've
I
heard.
could I want maybe I feel like the McRib is just a saucier version of Subway's chicken.
Oof.
Like they all come from the same
Oof.
place.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Oh my God. I never thought of it like that, but it makes so much
Yeah.
sense.
I
Yes.
don't think that's chicken either, but I got to admit I do like the Subway like chicken product patties. They were just
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, so at what point in your voice acting career did it click with you to say, hey, this can be a career that I can make money at?
I will let you know when that happens because the fact that it is a viable career, I probably uh I would probably say looking at Chris and his brother Greg is what I realized, well, voiceover is a viable career. Voice acting in anime is very much not. And because I had to watch Greg and see the sort of diversification required to use your voice as a viable career. So there are very, very few actors, if any, that solely voice act for anime and are somehow able to stay afloat. If you're a voice actor, you got to do anime. You need to do commercial spots, audio books, internet like advertisements, mobile games, or a lot of people supplement it with teaching, or they supplement it with some kind of retail or service job so that allows them the flexibility to do it. Greg is a phenomenal graphic artist and DJ, so he goes to a lot of conventions and hosts their raves because he does like the old school mixing and spinning, and there's not a lot of that, so he also has a very thriving music career. But it's both possible to make a living with your voice, but it's not possible to narrow down or hone any one type of voice acting, at least in Texas, because it's an at-will state.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen, and there are not the same uh pay minimum protections that like a union would have.
Mhm.
So it's not so much, it's not that it's it's wrong. You just got to do a lot more than just voice acting. So I guess when I saw it, I realized, okay, so it was kind of it wasn't intimidating, it was more freeing because I was still going to law school and I saw how normal it was for people to not only do voice acting, but they still had a life and a career that they were content with. Now, for me, it's law instead of audiobooks and commercial because I love character work, but I just learned it's very normal to do more than one thing. And also, I think that that's actually a really good way to become a stronger actor is to have a well-rounded life. One thing that Charlie Chaplin would do with his mom is watch people in real life and come up with a backstory for them. She would point to people and say, like, tell me his backstory. And it would just be some guy going to the post office. And Charlie would make up these stories that explain why the person is acting or walking or their facial expressions, why that is. And that is what made him a brilliant character actor. Miyazaki has said, I believe, that one of the best ways, one of the reasons why he is so good at animation is because he watches real life and then puts
Mhm.
that into his works. So I think that I like having something starkly different because one, with criminal law, you see a whole range of emotions and the way that it manifests in people that you might not see if you only watch one type of media. You know, if you only take acting classes, you will learn to cry when you're sad and to yell when you're angry, but you won't see that when somebody is sentenced to something or people testify, they will laugh because they're so angry or scream because they're so sad. And it's I think it's helped a lot in my performance because I think it lets me give a more nuanced take on certain emotions that, if we're lucky, lends well to the animation.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that kind of leads me into the next question that I was going to ask you, and it is a pretty serious subject, and we've asked several other voice actors this question. With the advent of artificial intelligence in your industry, what is your honest opinion about the usage of it in your industry?
It's not the artificial intelligence that I am particularly worried about. It is this like a plus 18 plus
Yes, you can go
podcast?
say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not worried about AI. I'm worried about greedy assholes because the AI right now is not it is not technologically possible to fully replicate the nuance that a human performance could do. And to be quite honest, I don't know if it will get there because at the end of the day, it's not real. And I think even the best ones I've heard have kind of an uncanny valley level to it. And I think when people engage in media, they want to feel enveloped in a new world. And to have that, even if it's slightly off feeling, it takes away some of the enjoyment. Also, I think we all have different um fandoms. We all have different things we collect, but we like being fans of something. And I think having actors promote a like media and promote a project, people like meeting that and having that ability to get closer to what they love. So I'm not so worried about the technology. And I think AI, when applied to different things than the arts, can be amazing. I mean, AI can scan your body and it can pinpoint how a surgery should be cut and how things can be used. So it can be used for so much good. But that brings me to my one fear. It's the greedy assholes that are trying to horn it into art who think, well, why would I pay a human when I can have a robot do 85% of the job just as well, but that 15% is a very big gap, and that might be the difference between an enjoyable performance and a non-enjoyable performance. So, I mean, AI is not going to take over our jobs unless other human beings make it so. So, it's the people that will replace humans with technology that I worry about, not the AI itself. And
Okay.
with better laws and protections for human workers, we could take care of that.
I was going to ask you, as an attorney, what is out there that could protect voice actors from that?
So I'm a criminal defense attorney,
Hmm.
and that is kind of a combination, I would say, of contract law, um, IP law, maybe transactional law for like new AI companies.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, asking a defense attorney about any of those things, you might as well ask a bucket of apples. It can give you a better answer than me.
I
But
Wow.
understand.
yeah, I'm not quite sure. And I think another thing is it's going to depend on the state because every state has different workers and rights and employment and rights and employment structures and unions. So I think it's going to either require federal parameters or it's going to be different state by state once those laws do start coming into place.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does. It really
As
does.
far as lawyers do go, though, we did recently have one get in trouble who wrote a federal brief using AI and did not check whether the cases cited actually existed or not.
I
So they
heard
weren't
about that.
real. Yeah, they weren't real.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait. Hold on. What happened?
So hold on, the
Um,
AI made up random law or cases as well.
Yes.
like
What?
Yeah. They
that
specifically used, if I'm not mistaken, they specifically used Chat GPT.
to
Um,
write a brief
yeah.
and the cases didn't exist. It was like, see Florida versus Jones and gave it like FWD 13 pages, this to this. Well, Florida versus Jones doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
it was just regurgitating what they thought, what the attorney was like, find a brief that supports this notion, and it just made one up.
What the hell?
That's
I've heard
Yeah.
what? No.
Yeah, and now in the Northern District of Texas, we have to sign AI waivers when we submit like dispositive or like lengthy briefings, being like, we did not write this brief using ChatGPT, and then you
that's
have to sign
awesome.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Wow.
when you had to do research papers back in school, they said don't use Wikipedia. Now you can't use
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Well,
When I heard that, I
Wikipedia
was like,
wasn't around
ooh.
when I was in school, so
When I heard that, I was like, ooh, that attorney got held.
Yep.
Because the undergraduate I went to was the University of Illinois in Urbana, Illinois, which is where HAL from Space Odyssey 2001 became operational.
Does that
So,
lawyer still have a job? Like,
you
I
know,
think so.
I think he faced sanctions, but not disbarment. It's at that point, I agree with this decision if that's what happened. If I were the judge looking at that, I would have to see an attorney who learned about AI. It was ChatGPT was still new when this happened. They saw this new technology. People were talking about how it could replace lawyers because it's so good. And for a second there, he might have thought he did something that seemed too good to be true, and it just turned out to be too good to be true. He will probably never do it again. And one day of laziness probably doesn't erase whatever work that lawyer put in to graduate law school and become an attorney that was hired for that case anyway. So I think a slap on the wrist and becoming a national laughingstock is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that, and when I read that article, I was like, "Are you kidding me? You didn't even fact check it?"
that's
Like,
crazy.
yeah.
The lack of fact checking is the one I can't excuse.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. So of your vocal range in the things that you have voiced, what do you feel is the hardest voice for you to sustain over a longer recording session?
Ooh, that is tough. I guess anything in the extremes, like for Beyond the Boundary, Mirai Kuriyama had a really high voice, but then for Honey Pop, the voice I used was very low. And whenever you're in an extreme like that, you've just got to cough, have a glass of tea, and get back to it. Um, so none of them are particularly hard as long as you do it healthfully. One thing that I do a lot of in shows, just because the way that my voice is when I scream, it sounds very grating. It sounds like I ripped up my throat, but I scream from my solar plexus instead of my throat. So it doesn't hurt as well. Depending on any project, if you practice good vocal health, there's a way to sustain it. And then I drink a lot of loquat syrup, which is what Lou Ferrigno used when he was the Incredible Hulk. It's a loquat is it's kind of like a persimmon. It's a fruit syrup that they sell online, but it is the best throat and lung emulsient ever.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I've never heard that one.
I will put it, I recommend it to everyone, not just for voice acting, but like if it's dry where you live or you've got a cold and you need to do your podcast or something, it is like an instant fix. I've given it to people who were going through chemo because it causes a frog in your throat and they loved it. It's the best.
Awesome. Yeah, where we live, it does get kind of dry and the allergies like are through the roof.
Where are
So
you guys located?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chattanooga.
Okay. My family's in Franklin.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
really?
Cool.
That's awesome.
I represent Colonel Littleton in the Texas courts with my briefcase. But yeah, I love Tennessee.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's only like an hour and 45 minutes from here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. We've been to Nashville from Franklin once, and so if Franklin's here and like Nashville's like 45 minutes this way, Chattanooga's like more this way. Is it towards Illinois?
No, Chattanooga's
Uh,
more towards
Towards
Georgia.
Oh,
Atlanta. Yeah.
Chattanooga is on the Tennessee-Georgia line. We basically, the easiest way I can say it, we're right in the middle of everything. We're 2 miles outside of Atlanta. We're about 2 miles outside of Knoxville, about 4 hours outside of Nashville, or maybe a little
No,
less than that.
it's
No,
2 hours to Nashville, 2 hours to Knoxville, 2 hours to
to
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
I thought it
Yeah.
was longer
that's
to get to
amazing.
Nashville.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
No, it's only 3 hours from where I'm at.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
been a minute since I've been to Nashville. I ain't been to Nashville since 2015. So
Yeah,
excuse me.
so it's like this very short drive to like all these
Everything.
major cities
Yeah.
where all this amazing stuff happens.
Yeah. And we got
It's
awesome
like 2
aquarium.
hours to Huntsville, Alabama as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I drive to Illinois every year for Christmas because
Mhm.
that's where my mother's located. So sometimes I'm able to go through Tennessee, but usually it's like Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and then Illinois. But in case the annoying accent that is very not Texan gives it away, I'm from Chicago.
Oh, it's okay. I'm originally from Texas, but you wouldn't tell that by my accent either.
We're in Texas.
I was born in Galveston.
That's where I graduated.
Awesome.
Oh wow.
There you go.
Awesome.
I went to
Yeah.
law school in Houston, and we had our graduation in Galveston.
Yeah, I'm a huge Houston sports fan. So I still
Astros.
love, yes.
Boo, boo,
There's
Yeah.
my Astros hat there. Astros,
boo.
Texans, Rockets. Um, the Cougars are okay, but I'm more of a University of Texas Austin fan. I grew up a Longhorn fan, so
The best sports moment was actually not at a sports game, but last year in November, the day after the World Series, I went to the Queen concert.
okay.
And when they sang "We Are the Champions," Brian May came out in a Rangers jersey, and it was the best.
Uh,
Yeah.
so are you an Astros fan or a Rangers fan?
Depends if they're playing each other. If they're playing each other, I think I have better memories of the Astros, just because I liked going with friends in Houston to stuff. If they're playing anyone else in the world, I'll be Astros or Rangers.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, I can't say nothing. I'm a Braves fan, so
I'm a Yankees fan.
yeah.
Always and forever.
When I lived in
Oh,
Illinois, I was a Packers fan, which did not bode well for me. But it
Oh,
was
I
a
was going
family
to say,
trait.
how did you survive?
It was a family trait, and thankfully we were in Rockford, so we were close enough to Wisconsin to like not get completely wrecked over it.
Okay, good.
yeah. You were close enough, so you got grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your criminal defense, and I know as an attorney, there's the attorney-client privilege. You can't talk about a whole lot of things. What's kind of the craziest thing that you have witnessed in court during your time in court?
Ooh. Um, well, how about I will tell you guys, but can it not be in the podcast because it is so disturbing?
That's perfectly fine. You wait till after we stop recording, and we'll double
Yeah.
back to that.
Yeah, we're going
I
back to
have
it, yeah.
seen some things.
Ooh.
But thankfully, and then with the attorney-client privilege, the biggest thing is you cannot tell what your attorney has said to you, or anything, or what your client has said to you, or anything that you've learned in the course of representation
Hmm.
that other people wouldn't know, or any information that makes your a client sufficiently identifiable with that. And so for the most part, because criminal law, there are only so many crimes in America. Just saying the things you've represented are not breaches, but because I do a lot of low cost, I often take cases that not a lot of other attorneys want.
Hmm.
And so if you can think of the worst crimes you can think of, I've probably done one of those. So I'm
Oh,
very
wow.
sensitive about when I talk about them,
Of
because you
course.
don't know who is a victim of what or what their family has gone through. And I have always been very, very bothered by attorneys who talk about their cases like high school stories, because in our
Mm.
profession, you become desensitized to things. You have to, because if you don't, you will go crazy. You will absolutely go nuts if you let everything affect you as though you've heard it the first time. But I don't like hearing attorneys laugh about how crazy this client was or whatever, because you're like, that's still, no matter what someone does, that's still their baby. Or heaven forbid, you're kind of laughing about this crime that resulted in victims.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
one of the boring lawyers.
I wouldn't say that you're boring. I just say that
Yeah.
you have a moral high ground that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
It's one of
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go
uh,
ahead.
it's just it's one of those things. I think what it really comes down to, and I hope I never lose it, but I'm new enough that I still want to kind of like save the world. And I think as I get older, I'm gonna get at least a little more bitter and jaded. But as long as you keep that, like at least a spark, that'll prevent you from really doing harm. I think you've just got to keep a little spark that you can lead to something being beautiful for someone.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping back to earlier in the episode when you talked about you was a big fan of horror. What's your particular brand of horror? Do you like slasher films? Do you like
Thank
psychological
you for
horror?
asking me this, because every single time someone asks me my favorite horror film, I'm like, okay, well, what genre? Slasher, psychological, J horror, girl in a box. Come on. I have to say, I probably like ghost stories.
Ooh,
I am
okay.
not a huge fan of gore, and for me, the perfect horror film is one that there are no jump scares, but I leave the theater and stay scared. I like the ones that really creep me out. Probably the most it's not a particularly great horror film, but it's my best memory with one was, have you guys ever seen Dead Silence?
Oh
Hmm.
man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, remember when I said way earlier, every few years I like to get into something that I'm not good at and become slightly good at it? When that
Hmm.
movie came out, it was ventriloquism. And my doll that my dad got me was a copy of Slappy from Goosebumps. And he had glow in the dark eyes. And that little was sitting on my dresser when I got home from the theater that night. And
And he
as I
laughed
go
at
to
you.
bed, I'm like,
It laughed
okay,
at you.
okay, you and me, we're gonna have to talk, because mm-mm, you rip out my tongue, and I swear to God, I'll hit you with my shoe. That was, but I loved it. But there wasn't even though it involved some bloody scenes, there was not a lot of jump scares for the sake of jump scares, and there wasn't a particularly large amount of gore. I love the old Stephen King movies like Pet Cemetery. Um, I like the Sci-Fi Channel's two-part version of The Shining better than the Stanley Kubrick film, because it is, have you seen it?
Yes.
I like the two-parter. It's it's truer to the books, and it deals a lot more with the ghosts of the Overlook. I love the Babadook. I'm gonna go this Thursday to the 10-year anniversary showing at Texas Theater.
Nice.
Really been 10 years of the Babadook?
Yeah,
That's what I said. I had to make sure my hip wasn't broken, and there was no prune juice in my fridge when I learned that, because I was like, oh dear God. Love that. In terms of newer ones, I loved the Insidious franchise. It was the first horror franchise in a while, I think, to really personify the word sublime, which is kind of what the romantic novelists use to describe something that is so scary, it's beautiful. And I think that the music, the lighting, the story, I think in a lot of ways it really was beautiful. Um, as far as slashers go, I love Freddy Krueger with a fiery passion, and will watch anything that they slap a Nightmare on Elm Street sticker on. Um,
That character gave me many a nightmare when I was a child.
so the ironic thing is, the reason he did not give me nightmares is my uncle is where I got my nerd collecting habits from. And I would go to his house, and he still has, like, his house itself could be a museum of horror memorabilia. And he probably
Okay.
eventually, when he does sell it, he probably will sell it as a collection to a museum. It's ridiculous. For some reason that I don't freaking know what, it was before anything I even saw it. I had to be like 4. He had the drawstring Freddy Krueger doll that
Oh
if you
yeah,
pulled it, you know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
yeah,
do.
he had
Yeah.
one, and I don't know why, but that was mine. Like, I was like, "This is my baby doll," and I loved that little doll, and I took it. I just started crying. He's like, "Yeah, give her the doll." So I had my Freddy Krueger doll without knowing what Freddy Krueger was, and when I first saw it, I was just laughing so hard. I'm like, "You're not Sky at all." I loved them. Watched the first 2 at my grandparents' house on a weekend. Then I watched the 3rd one when I was a little older and Blockbuster was still around, and my mom got the 3rd one. And that to me is one of the most badass slasher films, Dream Warriors. And I loved it. And then from the 4th movie on, it just got funny. So
Yeah.
brought so
Yeah.
much joy.
What did you think of Jackie Earl Haley as Freddy Krueger?
I I was when I saw it with one of my friends, and we spent so much time laughing at the phrase micro naps. Uh, for the rest of the night, we're like, yeah, that was so, oh my, micro nap. So I thought that I was less impressed with the writing, but as far as his performance goes, the whole point of it was to make him scary again. By the
Mhm.
time Freddy versus Jason hit, Freddy Krueger was hilarious. Like,
Mhm.
half purposely, half not on purpose. And so when they were going back into making that, they're like, come on, let's bring back the first movie. Like, let's make him scary again. And really, he didn't speak enough. He didn't speak a lot, but when he did speak, it was very threatening. His body language, I thought, was great. I think he paid a good homage to Robert Englund, but he also brought his own kind of style to it that just made this dude a creepy dream demon that you don't want to fall asleep and wake up to. And so I was I was not disappointed. But it's hard for me to be disappointed by performances or movies, not because not to anything to do with being an actor. I'm just one of those people that enjoy the ride a lot. I'm always the one who pisses people off at the end of the movie because I'll be like, really? It was awesome. No problem. So I'm not a very discerning consumer. I am a capitalist dreams child.
So
Yes.
do you like how far like into like the disturbing in terms of horror do you go to?
Um, I will go for pretty much anything except for a Serbian film and Cannibal Holocaust.
Man, man, that
That's my cutoff level, because Serbian film, it just, for me, that I don't like torture porn very much. I didn't like the Hostel films very much either. And then Cannibal Holocaust, I don't like anything where the animals are actually harmed, and the turtle was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was a bad one. A Serbian film, like when I first heard about it, I was just like, it's not, I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I needed therapy for like 3 weeks after watching that movie. It is literally like, I mean, I would rather watch Necromantic than watch this movie. You know what I mean? And that's saying much because Necromantic's a horrible movie.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
and for me, like the reason I say those are my cutoffs, those are ones that like I'm trying to think. I'm not a big fan of Hostel. I didn't really I didn't enjoy I did not like the second and third much more than the first one, but I still didn't even like any of the Human Centipede. But if I go to a Halloween party and it's on in the background, I have no problem sipping my drink and laughing at it with the rest of people. Serbian film and Cannibal Holocaust, I will refuse to watch. I
yeah,
just can't do it again.
What's that
yeah.
Italian horror one? Uses a lot of neon colors.
The Italian that used a lot of neon, not
Not
Suspiria, is it?
Yes, I think.
Hysteria.
I think.
No, Suspiria is the one with oh God, she quit acting and became the crabby cookbook author, Jessica Harper. Uh, that was Jessica Harper.
Yeah.
You're thinking of an Italian one.
Mm-hmm.
Was it
Uh,
No, Martyrs was French. Never mind.
Martyrs was French. That's a good, you know what? That's a very disturbing one
No,
that I still think is phenomenal.
that movie, Martyrs, not the remake that they did, but the original one.
Hmm.
You talk about heavy. That was a heavy that like it literally like it was a war of nutrition to get
Hmm.
through this movie for me.
You know
It was
what? That reminds me of another one I can't watch just because it bothered me so much. Is Salome, 100 Days of Sodom.
Solo, yeah.
Can't
I refused to
Salos.
watch it. I refused to watch it. I didn't want. I
It
didn't
was
want to see it.
I saw a review of it, and it told me enough to know that I never want to see uh, anything. Like even I couldn't even watch the YouTube review again because it shows like not even the worst scenes, but a few of them, and I was like, mm-mm.
Mm-mm. See, it's like, and sometimes a movie will come out, and if you know an actor in it, and you think, oh, this will be a good, movie, because of a certain actor. There's a movie with Willem Dafoe in it called Antichrist, and I'm like, what the? Literally 30 minutes in, I'm like, what am I watching? Like, it was that
I made
much of a movie.
I made the same mistake because Willem Dafoe was my first celebrity crush, which is awful. But
And then
Um,
you watch
is
Antichrist,
the
and you're like,
smile?
what is
I was like, mm-mm, mm-mm, I
this?
don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
um, so in your fandom of horror, have you ever seen the movie Resurrection with Christopher Lambert in it?
I the title sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it because I think I would remember. So no, I don't think I did.
So this is probably my favorite Christopher Lambert movie ever. It came out in 1999. But he plays a detective, and it's mystery horror, and he's chasing a serial killer who's trying to resurrect Jesus Christ.
That it sounds like it's right up my alley. I just wrote
Yeah,
it down.
it is literally my favorite Christopher Lambert movie, uh, and one of my favorite horror mysteries.
Yeah. Speaking of good movies, have you ever seen the movie Tusk?
I don't know if it's
Oh
good.
yeah, I
I
have seen
wouldn't.
Tusk.
Okay,
Well, Kevin Smith
I
directed it, so it's gotta
love
be good. You know what I
I
mean? So
I I love Kevin Smith. I would not call Tusk
A
a
good
good
movie.
movie.
It
well,
was
I
not
would
by any
call
means.
I would call it an interesting movie.
interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe okay,
Unique.
maybe good was the wrong word to use. Maybe I should have said
Yeah.
interesting as well. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
because Red State was better than Tusk, I think.
it birthed a horror genre that I think should be called That Was a Choice.
Yes. So do you know where he came up with the idea for that movie?
No.
It was from a Craigslist ad in the UK. Somebody literally posted a Craigslist ad looking for a roommate that they could turn into a walrus. And Kevin Smith found this Craigslist ad somewhere and was like, I'm going to make a movie about that.
How do you even explain that posting?
Yeah.
Now I want to look up the posting. But you know what? I really like Yoga Hosers.
That's a good
Yes.
one.
Burger Hoses
That's
was
a good
good.
one.
Yeah.
I
Um,
hate that they didn't finish the True North trilogy though. Because there's supposed to be a third one in that called Moose Jaws.
Yeah, which I was waiting for so long.
was it canceled or is it still just, are we still
It
waiting?
could still
It's
happen, I
it's
think.
still in limbo.
Yes, in limbo.
Yeah,
Uh,
because it was supposed to come out after Yoga Hosers, but we got Clerks 3. Um, he just finished the 4:30 movie, and there was something else that he did in between, um, which is why we haven't got Moose Jaws yet.
a newer one that I just saw that I thought was very fun. Have y'all seen Totally Killer yet?
No,
I've heard
not
of it.
yet.
I've not seen it yet.
I've
Okay,
heard of
that
it.
I
one
want to.
I think it's on Netflix. I can't remember if it's like
Hmm.
Netflix or Max, but I cannot recommend it enough. It's like a combination of Halloween, Back to the Future, and The Lovely Bones.
Yeah, I wanted to
It
Okay.
see
is
it
the
because
weirdest
Okay.
trilogy, but
it's
it
time
was
travel.
so much fun.
Yeah. Chip, you brought it up a minute ago. So Kevin Smith saw an advertisement on Craigslist about a guy who wanted to turn a roommate into a walrus. Am I correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I don't know if he's seen it or somebody told him about it in a podcast. I can't
Oh, okay.
remember, but it was from a Craigslist ad.
That reminds me of the whole Arvin Maves thing, the Rottenberg cannibal, when he went to the cannibal cafe on the dark web and looked for somebody to eat, and a guy actually responded to it.
Hmm.
Well, that
And
was
then
a
that's when
mutual
the horror
thing.
movie. Then that's when the horror movie Feed. That's if there's a horror movie called Feed, FEED, and it was based on the Rottenberg cannibal story.
Yes.
Yeah, but that actually happened in real life, though.
Oh yeah, the Rottenberg cannibal thing really did happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's actual tape of it too. So
Yeah. Well, there's footage that's been leaked or whatever, but German authorities have already said that they're going to not put the tape out to the public. And the only 12 people who have actually seen the videos were the 12 jurors. And 9 out of the 12 jurors had to seek psychological therapy after watching it.
well, yeah, you see a dude eat another dude.
Yeah. And
Well, he's alive.
I,
You know, I can happily say I've never dealt with a case where someone ate someone.
Yeah,
I
that's
just said
something.
we see everything, but I've not gotten a cannibal yet.
That's awesome.
That's a
Yeah,
good thing.
very good, yeah.
Joy,
Go
it's
to
the
Germany,
little joys in life.
Yeah,
Yes.
apparently, there's over 4,000 cannibals that live in the country of Germany. Apparently,
Makes sense.
yeah.
So
I mean, what
do
else are
they
you gonna
figure
do?
that out like in the census? Is that
Yeah,
a
like,
question in
how do
their
you figure that
census? Or do
out?
people volunteer that information and be like, hey, what do you do for a living? I eat people. Okay.
I, I, I research a lot of weird shit. I'm sorry.
But how do you
No,
figure?
that's
But how do you figure
awesome.
that out though? Like it's people just out there like, yeah, I'm a cannibal.
I don't know.
It's like,
I
how
don't
do you
know.
like your steak?
Like, no,
I
and
like
I
to
get
stay
that.
raw.
Like, I love going on having rabbit hole days where I just think of the most asinine questions and research them down to like their very base. Trying to think of something cool. I learned that the guy who wrote and performed the song, the one-eyed, one-winged flying purple people eater.
Yes.
One-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
The guy who wrote and recorded that song is the same guy who did the Wilhelm scream from like Star Wars and stuff.
Really?
Really?
Uh-huh. He was also not just a performer and comedian, he was also a voice recording artist.
Wow.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We learned something today.
Well,
I was
any
going to
day
tell us
that
he was
you
also a cannibal.
And you learn about cannibals. Yep.
oh
Well,
so
we're talking about people eaters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. So Krystal, we won't keep you too long. We greatly appreciate you being with us tonight. Um, tell us about what you have coming up that does not break NDAs. Do you do conventions or anything like that?
I do. The big thing is I kind of I don't have like a fancy like charming way of putting it. When Chris died, I became a lump for 2 years. I did not want to leave the house. I mean, I did for work because I needed to make bills and stuff, but I really stopped putting myself out there. Because I had to clam up in some way. I couldn't afford to do it on like a day-to-day interaction thing and stop working. So the only way I really was able to do that was to not be online as much and to not try to do conventions. I'm ramping them up again, but they're because I didn't do them for like 2 years, I think a lot of people assume that I don't do them, which is
Mhm.
fair. So I'm trying to get back into it. If I'm invited to any of them, I go. I've done one in Arkansas recently that was absolutely phenomenal. And because I've only seen Arkansas driving through Texarkana, I did not know how beautiful the Ozarks was.
Oh yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was phenomenal. I did one before that. It was a huge honor. The University of Illinois put on their first like school sanctioned anime convention,
Oh,
and
nice.
they asked me to come back and be their voice acting guest because I went there. And it was so good seeing my college again. And the most important thing was my favorite restaurant was still open. So I like got off of the plane and went right to the restaurant. And I'm like, I'll have my usual. And the family remembered me and they're like, oh my God.
What
Uh,
restaurant?
What restaurant?
it's called Cravings, and the food that the thing I always got was called Shuiju Tofu, which is it is tofu that has been boiled in chili oil, and then they put more red chilies on it, and then they put Szechuan peppercorns on top of that. And the thing is that it's so spicy that it numbs your tongue, so all you get is the flavor.
Okay.
Szechuan
Yeah.
peppercorns are like they're like in the family of juniper berries that causes a numbing sensation. So even though it's like the spiciest thing ever, it never hurts. And it's just if you like
Oh,
chili and you like tofu, and they can do it with fish or meat, but their tofu, they use the silken kind and it just absorbs all the chili flavor. It was the best.
Hmm.
Gonna have
that's
to.
very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most common way I think to spell it, and because it's more commonly done with the boiled fish. But if
Mhm.
you ever go to a Szechuan place and it has that, it will be the best thing you've ever eaten in your life.
Okay. Definitely gonna
We're
have
gonna have to
to
plan. We're gonna
check
have to
that
plan to
out.
go there when we go to Chicago.
I've
Yeah.
got so much places for Chicago to go anyways. So
Yes.
we gotta go to the beef.
Yeah, we
First
gotta
off.
go to the beef.
Yeah, we gotta go
Al's
to
Al's
yes.
number one beef for Portillo's.
What was
Uh
it
Where's the
again?
beef?
I think it's Al's. It's have you seen the TV show The Bear?
I've seen the bear, yeah.
Okay, so that's uh
The restaurant's
the
the
beef.
beef.
Yeah. It's an
Oh,
actual restaurant in
Yeah, they use the
uh
actual restaurant, the beef, but I don't know if they
I didn't
actually say
know
which
that
one.
was I always thought
Yeah.
it was I always thought that it was kind of calling it that for Al's beef. That's so cool. Now I need to go to the beef.
Everybody got beef.
yes.
Yes.
And in Chicago, that's a good thing.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
go, the proper sandwich to get is a dipped Italian combo, because everyone always gets either a Italian sausage or an Italian beef, but the Italian combo is Italian beef on top of an Italian sausage, and then it's dipped in the au jus, and it is messy, but it is the best thing ever.
That sounds amazing.
I'm booking my
It's so
flight right
good.
now. I want that right now. Sounds so good.
We don't need to book a flight. We can drive to Chicago.
And
No, I'm flying. Well, I'm
Like,
fine.
Tyler,
And then
we've
the
driven to Illinois before.
if y'all haven't had Chicago style pizza before,
But
I'm gonna
sorry.
make a recommendation that isn't Giordano's. It's called Lou Malnati's. It is, oh my God. Okay, so it's a deep dish pizza, but it's a thin crust. So it's all pizza and the crust is still like super crispy. It's amazing.
Okay.
awesome. I'm gonna try that too.
I can't do it. My inner New Yorker won't let me.
Oh,
But the crust is thin. You
I don't
can,
like that. I actually don't like thin crusts, really.
okay.
That's the inner. I have to have a hand tossed. I have a little bit of dough in there.
Um,
I
so
mean, Blue Malnati got a lot of dough.
yeah.
right.
Krystal, I know you said you became a quote unquote lump for 2 years, but are you on social media? If people wanted to follow you, is there any way they can do that to
Yes,
see about your
absolutely.
upcoming stuff?
Yes, I primarily use Twitter, or it's Twitter. I use
Twitter, yeah.
Twitter. I
Yeah.
use Twitter. My Instagram, I don't use a lot, but I do update it occasionally. And if I ever have like a live streamly signing, I think it streams to Twitch and Instagram. Um, for Instagram, it's just Krystal LaPorte VA, not updated. Twitter is frequently updated, and that is just at wow, such Krystal, because I really liked the Doge meme when I made it like 13 years ago. Um, so it's just wow, such Krystal. Um, if I ever have conventions, I do update it there. Any new shows that I've done, I update. The most recent one that I could announce, the two that I'm working on right now that have been announced that I highly recommend. One is just extremely comfy, and that's called Bartender. If
Yes.
you have you watched it?
I love
Yeah.
Bartender.
If you like, if you have any interest in mixology or cocktails, it is like it's almost it would work just as well as a radio play because it's
Mhm.
so text heavy, but the music is so calming, and they actually teach you how to mix a lot of drinks, like using
Yes.
the right measurements, using the right alcohol. And I don't know how they got it, but they got all the brand names in there. So I mean, you've got Malibu Rum, Drambuie in the background, Johnny Walker, Toki. They've got everything. In that one, I play a. She wants to be a bartender and she tries very hard, but she's not very good at it. So her sort of character arc is showing up once an episode, and bartender being like, "You must listen to the heart of the booze, or you'll never be a bartender." And she's like, "Why do you tell me this?" But then she gets better eventually. Um, and then the other one that I just recently worked on is Shy. It's kind of, I guess it kind of reminds me of a mixture of My Hero and Tiger and Bunny in terms of a superhero show.
Mhm.
Okay.
Um, but it's a primarily female cast and a female superhero named Shy because she's shy. And I play a little ghost. She's a villain. She doesn't want to fight, but she does anyway, and she just doesn't really want to do it. So why are you making her? That's that's what she does.
Okay.
A
Well,
little
there you
I
ghosty.
have to put that on my list
Yeah.
to check out.
go.
So, Krystal, we were once told that the greatest gift you can give another person is your time because it's something you can never get back. And we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us this evening.
And I thank you guys so much for sharing your time with me as well. I have had an absolute blast talking about really I'm so sorry that we pretty much talked about everything but voice acting. I
No,
apologize deeply.
No, it's fine.
But
no, it's
I
your
had an
story.
absolute no,
Yeah.
I have an absolute blast. I could talk about movies probably forever. That's actually what happened is me and Chris we asked each other what our favorite movies were, and then we stopped talking 10 years later.
Yeah.
That was
Um, it's
Now
perfect.
for yeah.
It's
We can definitely
perfect.
talk about movies all day too, but
Oh yeah.
All day long.
oh, I will plug a movie as my parting gift, because it is the 50-year anniversary of my favorite film of all time, Phantom of the Paradise. If y'all have never seen it, it is a rock opera version of Phantom of the Opera. It was filmed here in Dallas, and all the music and the villain is played by Paul Williams. He did that collaboration with Daft Punk, and he wrote
Really?
Rainbow Connection for Kermit the Frog. But the music it's 1970s. It is top camp. It actually was not only the inspiration for Rocky Horror Picture Show, but the Phantom's costume was the inspiration for a character named Darth Vader. Daft Punk credits that movie with inspiring them to form a band, and it inspired their costumes. It inspired so much and gets so little credit. So we're going to a big celebration of it for the 50th anniversary, and I hope the whole world watches that movie because it's amazing.
I'm definitely gonna check it out now.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
real.
It is the
Absolutely.
best.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, we thank you so much for your time. We thank you for being with us and joining us, and we thank you guys for watching tonight. Chip, Roger, anything you guys want to say before we get out of here this evening?
As always, please do not leave without leaving a like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Roger?
And as always, thank you guys for the support. Without you guys giving us support and helping us along the way, we wouldn't be able to do great things like have interviews like this. I mean, this was very interesting. Yes, we didn't talk about voice acting, but we learned a lot more, which is always great. And just thank you guys for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you for the love and support. And if you want to continue to support Movement Radio, make sure you go to streamlabs.com/Movement Radio /merch and go copy some merch. Krystal, once again, thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate you being here and doing this for us. Thank you guys for watching. And until next time, I'm Talon Williams.
I'm Chip Hazard,
I'm Roger Sierra.
and this
Night.
is Movie Radio.
God's plan.